are you all turned on, kinda?
Yep, I'm good to go.
Alright, so, alright. Well, it is 4:30. The meeting will come to order. For public information, a copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of this meeting room on the east wall, just in case someone needs to read that or see that. We'll have roll call.
Harris,
Here.
Reisig,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Blue,
Here.
Parsley.
Here.
Alright, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The next item is announcements from the chair, and I always like to use this time to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded. It's not being recorded to be broadcast live, but it will be broadcast at a later date. Remember that whoever wants to speak this evening, we're going to ask you to come forward to the podium, to the microphone. Again, since it's being recorded, we want to be sure and get all of your comments, and so that those listening later will be able to hear them clearly. We do ask that you state your name before you speak, and spell your name for the clerk so that she can get it in the minutes correctly. Remember, there's no swearing or any other inappropriate language. We need to all check our cell phones, including me, and be sure that we turn them off or to silent with the hope that our devices don't interrupt others. I also want to remind the commissioners that we need to speak clearly into our microphones and directly into our microphones, so that again, those that will be listening later on the recordings can hear it, and the people in the back room can hear it as well. We'll see how long this meeting takes this evening. If we get past 5:30, 5:45, generally I'll plan to take about an 8-minute break midway through the meeting. All right, so just want to make you aware of those things this evening. Our next item is to approve the agenda and or consider any modifications. All right, not hearing any, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the agenda.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses.
All right. Okay, so the motion's carried. Next item, just want to remind everyone that the board reserves the right to enter into a closed session if deemed necessary. This evening, I don't believe that we have anything that we intend to go into an executive session for, but if something comes up where we think we need to, and with our attorney's advice, we always reserve the right to do that. So we'll go to our next item that starts with a consent information, but this evening we do have a line item here that says Vice Chairman Reisig requests abstaining on action regarding claim 206-000-349. Mr. Reisig, we might just let you explain that, and then we can exclude that from our our next motion probably.
Okay, that'd be a purchase from Road and Bridge to my hardware store in Morrill, Morrill Hardware and Building Supplies. And evidently Steve bought some pipe. I didn't even know he did, but I guess we did. We sold you some pipe.
Okay? And so you wanna abstain on that item,
I would like to abstain.
okay? Any other questions on that item? And, I'm assuming, Jason, we don't need to take action there as long as we address that in the next motion, hopefully?
Yes.
Okay. So my motion will be to approve the consent agenda. Again, the intent of the consent agenda is to take action on several items, with one motion, unless someone wants to consider something separate. So my motion specifically is to approve the minutes, remittances, correspondence, claims, receive the treasurer's April 26 depository bank statements, in-pay investment reports, loan updates and fund balances, the May 2026 earned fees report from the clerk of the district court, the county clerk's May 2026 marriage license and miscellaneous fees collected reports, and the Register of Deeds May 2026 doc stamps and fees report, and it to specifically exclude claim number 206000349. That'd be my motion.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to approve those items, as the consent agenda. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 4 yeses and 1 abstain, which
Alright.
would be Russ.
All right, so the motion is carried. So then we'll go to the next item, which is discuss and consider claim 20660000349, which is the claim apparently to Morrill Hardware, on the, item for the road and bridge. Is there any question about that?
I'm not seeing that claim, so I just wondered where that's,
Might be under
Can you know what
road
page
and
it's on?
bridge.
Do you remember what the amount was, Russ?
No.
I believe it was like $17.99 or something like that.
$17?
Yeah.
And, oh,
It was a small,
it'd be under road and bridge, I'm assuming?
correct.
I found it's on page 10, 1998.
Yeah,
Is that right? Okay.
1998. All right, any other questions or comments?
I move to approve claim number 260600349,
All right,
the amount of $19.98.
all right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
I think you left a 0 out of that one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve that claim. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 4 yeses and 1 abstain, being
All right,
Russ Rising.
so the motion's carried.
Wouldn't I just abstain once on that, Jason?
You
Yeah,
just
the
need to
first one.
abstain on the claim itself
mean,
since
yeah.
they retracted it from the consent agenda.
You could vote for all the other ones, which would have been the first vote,
Okay.
but that's all right. All right, so that concludes that portion. We'll go on to the Board of Equalization. We'll need a motion to go into the Board of Equalization.
I move that we go into the Board of Equalization.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second to move into the Board of Equalization. We'll go ahead and vote.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried. First item is discuss and consider approval of one motor vehicle exemption for Capstone of Gearing. Heather?
All right, so this vehicle is used to provide forensic interviews and advocacy services to child abuse and neglect victims and their non-offending caregivers. They also facilitate MDT meetings with within the Panhandle as directed by Nebraska state statute. It's used to provide travel to forensic interviews in Chadron Alliance in Sydney, and will also be used to travel to meetings, staff trainings, state chapter meetings, presentations, court hearings, and appointments with victims and their families. It has previously been exempt and is a total tax loss of $159.60.
It meets all of your requirements. I would move for the approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the, motor vehicle exemption for Capstone. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses?
All right, motion's carried. Next item is discuss and consider approval of one veteran vehicle exemption waiver for Lawrence Leatherman Jr.
When Mr. Leatherman's wife came in and renewed his vehicle in May, when it was up for renewal, she was not aware of the vehicle exemption. It's a tax loss of $540. He is due the exemption, per all of the regulations for it. And Matt also recommends approval. His disability rating is at 50%.
Why are we having to approve it?
Because for me to go in and actually override the exemption, I have to have approval by the county board.
Because they were late.
Cause,
Oh, 'cause they were
because
late?
he didn't
Outside that
apply for it on time, so
Okay.
they didn't know about it until
So if they
June
apply on
4th.
time, we don't have to approve it.
Yeah,
That
if
can
they
all be
apply
done
on
then.
time,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right, no problem.
They didn't know about it, so they didn't apply for it.
I move for approval.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the veteran vehicle exemption for Lawrence Leatherman. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Russ, did yours go?
Finally.
I have 5 yeses.
That's all right.
Motion's carried. All right, next item is discuss and consider approval of one veteran vehicle exemption waiver for Anthony Osborne.
So on Mr. Osborne's vehicle exemption, he also did not realize that there was a vehicle exemption. He missed his vehicle registration window by 3 days, because of his workload, and he's had a very, sick nephew and has spent most of the April and half of May at Denver Children's Hospital. So he was not aware that he had to get it renewed on time, and he missed the deadline by 3 days. And we are asking that he gets the vehicle exemption.
Before, would it be possible if Monette or Scott, could we do a story on this? So that everybody, I think there's a
And
lot
I've
of folks
asked
that
Matt,
don't.
this morning when I was talking
Yeah.
to Matt about it, we're gonna work on, there is signage up in the building, but a lot of these guys just don't know that it's out there for them to apply.
Well, if they're coming
or-
into the building and if they're late, then it's
Yeah.
not gonna matter. If we
Yeah.
could do just
So-
a little blip on something so that these individuals know that they are
Yeah, absolutely. Matt and I
eligible
would
for
be
that.
more than happy to work with both Scott and Lynette to try
Okay,
and get
I appreciate
information
that.
out there.
And with, sometimes with the, vehicle being purchased outside of state, they have
Yeah,
45
and
days to
this one was a
register it.
renewal,
So it's the things that I hope,
and,
in the
and
future
actually
we
we're
will
at,
have.
like, there are 2,500 veterans within the county that are eligible, and I believe this is like the 5th one that we've had come to us within 6 months, so it's not too
Yeah.
bad, but it's still not.
I've talked to
Great.
a half a dozen veterans that didn't.
They don't know about it.
Didn't know about it.
Yeah, they don't
Absolutely
know
didn't
about it.
But
So-
this is the first year.
This
And
is
it
the
ought to
first year.
get better every year
Yeah,
thereafter.
and it's a
And
brand
so-
new exemption. I would not think that next year it's something we probably should do, but, it is the first year.
Yeah, if we could just get the word out.
I think they have done a good job of advertising it with messages here when they come into the administration building, but
Yeah.
they have no business to
Well,
come, then.
and the problem with it is that, like with the previous one, his wife came in and renewed it for him, and she didn't realize that there was something out there for them. And then when he came in and talked to, Matt, a couple days later, he found out that he missed out on that, which $500 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
You guys that are veterans, is there any, communication, that comes out of Matt's office
Oh,
from
yeah.
time to time?
Yes, Matt, I suggest veterans make a habit of stopping in at least every quarter. And then the Nebraska Department of Veteran Affairs put out a informational thing way back about this, and that's how I found out about it, and I talked to Matt. But it's
And they're-
advertised out there. It's just like everybody else who checks their emails sometimes.
Well, it's that, and, you know, there are people that knew about it and didn't apply for it, so,
Sure.
I mean,
And once they're in the system, as I understand it, the
Once
state of
it's-
Nebraska, then they
it's
they
gonna come up
automatically get
every
it from
year.
here on out, so
It's not
hopefully
gonna
it'll-
be like a capstone vehicle that I bring in, front of you that I have to ask for every year. A veteran's exemption's gonna stay with that vehicle for as long as they have that vehicle.
Even if it's in the system, they still have to do it within the 30 days, correct?
They do.
Okay.
So if it's a vehicle that's due in June, they are supposed to make sure that they file for it and get their vehicle renewed on time. Mr. Osborne had some extenuating circumstances, so
I would
his
move
was
for
a little
approval.
different, but,
What was the tax loss on that?
tax loss on this one is $1,278, and there's a fee loss of $30, so $1,318 total
But most of that's the states anyway, correct?
and I'll
portion. Well, no, motor vehicle tax is split between the county and the city and schools.
And I'll second the motion to approve the vehicle tax exemption.
Alright. So we have a motion and a second to approve the, vehicle exemption waiver for Anthony Osborne. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses?
Motion's, carried. Thank you. Alright, so we'll go to the next item, which is discuss and consider a report of damaged real property for parcel 0103399612. This was a total fire loss with a valuation decrease of $785,890, tax loss of $10,882.41. Robert, do you wanna address that at all?
Sure, just very quickly, you said, part of what I was gonna say, the tax loss. The Form 425 was filed timely in my office. My deputy, Stephen Richter, went out and inspected, and you can see by the 3 color graphs or color photos that is a complete loss. The house has gone down to the foundation. So, according to, state statutes, we're recommending that the board, approve this, damaged property report, for the stated tax loss. And if it's approved, I have a form, I'll pass it down and you can sign it.
Okay,
What is the timeline on that, Robert?
So it has to, the damage has to occur before July 1st and has to be presented to us, to the county assessor by July 15th. So well
So
within
it
the
has to
time.
happen before July 1st and be reported by the 15th of July.
That's correct.
Okay, gotcha.
alright.
So when does that start over then, after the 1st of July, then if you start the new year, it has to be after that?
Yeah, so for the next tax year, if there's a loss
Changes.
as of, after January first, somebody can file this.
So, this form, is fairly new, if I remember correctly, wasn't it put in effect when the floods occurred in eastern Nebraska?
Yeah, I wanna say
and-
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It was,
Alright,
and each year we have, I think last year we had a handful, 4 or 5 that we signed, yes.
sure. This seems to be a perfect example of when it's appropriate and when it needs to be approved, seems to me. Okay, so we have the information, and we had pictures. It's obviously a total loss of the building, and, this is the one that happened out south and west of Big Lake Alice, I
Yeah,
believe.
County Road C,
Yeah,
yeah.
so, all right, do we have a motion for approval?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to, approve the damaged real property for this parcel, total fire loss with a valuation decrease of $785,890. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses?
Motion's carried. All right, I believe that completes our Board of Equalization. If we'd have a motion to go out of Board of Equalization.
I move to go out of the Board of Equalization.
I'll
there-
second.
Have a motion and a second to go out of Board of Equalization. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses?
Motion's carried. So we'll go on to the general agenda items. The first item is discuss and consider approval of advertising for a facilities manager assistant position. Steve Davidson's here, the facility manager, and Robert Simpson, the management accountant, will handle this. Go ahead, Steve, if you'd like.
Steve Davidson, Facilities, Davidson. I wanted to bring up the meetings that me and Mark had during the interview process. I think we all agreed that filling that supervisor title wasn't necessary at the time. I've kinda changed some of my feelings about that in evaluating my future. I had committed to you fellas that I'd stick around for at least a year, keep this ball rolling. But in the meantime, some things have changed, and I think it's time we groom somebody in-house. Somebody I can pass what I know about these systems in-house, so that when that time comes and you have somebody in-house, you're gonna advertise that outside. That person in-house has a fighting chance against people outside. And grooming somebody in-house, I've always felt was better. These are some things that me and Robert have talked about in the past month, 2 months maybe. And actually, most of it was Robert's idea, to see that we can make this happen through an assistant. Somebody that's dedicated to learn what I know. Not only about the administrative part, but about these systems. And I don't want this to sound bad, but if I can't pass that on, somebody's gonna learn a lot of this from scratch. And that can put a lot of people in a bad way, systems included. So we came up with this.
The thing that I would add is that, yeah, we had the conversations like Steve indicated, and he is, at some point in the near future, going to retire and go play golf somewhere.
If we allow
Yes.
it.
If we allow it, if we
If
allow it, right.
it to happen, I guess.
And,
Still got some good golf
so,
in that tank.
we've talked about it, and he was able to successfully get, he's already down one position, so he was successfully able to add this into his budget for 26-27 and not exceed the increase that the board had already indicated
Correct.
for that particular department. So that's for the facility here. And, well, actually, this position would be an assistant, it'd be overall 3, but you have him in the budget for the facilities for the main campus. So from a
Correct.
budget perspective, you're in budget on that.
I'm fine on the budget, yeah.
Right,
It's,
yeah.
it's proposed, hopefully funded.
How much time do you think, Steve, this would take to fully
Well,
prepare
some of it's
someone?
gonna depend on the individual, Matt, but, I think with the gentleman that I've been discussing it with, 6 to 8 months. I'm pretty comfortable with that, and I'm even willing to throw out that when that time comes that I do wanna slow down a little bit, part-time avenue for me might be an option to continue that until he's comfortable and up to speed, so.
I really like your idea, Steve, and the fact that you bring somebody from the outside. The amount of money that we invest in our own people to teach them about the systems and to teach them how things go.
I totally agree with that.
That's
yeah.
there's a cost savings right there, and just to get part of that done. So if
And-
somebody can hit the ground running, which would really be a good thing to happen.
Yeah, and I think the familiarity that they would have with the people in the county,
Yeah.
already established.
Exactly.
There's gonna be some new faces, certainly in different buildings, but very familiar with it. He's not taking baby steps trying to learn from scratch.
Yeah.
So I think there's some value there.
In your department, you're just, I mean, the department as a whole benefits from doing this. I mean, it's not just you, but I would guess probably every department could benefit from this type of a scenario where you can prepare somebody
Yes.
for that position. In the military, Mike and I have talked about this, but they had, it's called a right seat ride, where you learned the job of the person you were gonna be put into.
Right.
And it was so beneficial to have that opportunity to actually stand next to them, learn that job before you actually get,
I totally agree with that.
so.
Totally.
Well, I would only say that I agree with all this, and most importantly, we did, have a, action where we had a hiring freeze, so to speak, but this is definitely not a new position. It's filling one that we've been running one person short since Jay's been gone,
Correct.
basically. And so this simply fills us back up to the, number of people that we had before. And, it, would allow us to do that, and so it's not going against the, previous motion of a hiring freeze, in my opinion, but it's, certainly fulfilling that desire of you coming here and mentioning it to us, and that we, make a decision to allow it, so.
I do wanna add to that, it won't bring us up to speed as far as personnel. What it basically is doing is filling my chair that I held prior to moving up to this. And if that person is in-house and he moves into that chair, we still have a vacancy. We're still short.
If it ends up that way and that you fill it from within, then the way I would see it, our motion only went through the end of the fiscal year. And so at that point in time, I would think that then it would be appropriate, especially if you filled that from within, that we would still need another person.
Correct.
But, if you filled it from outside, then you wouldn't, but.
Correct.
Technically, that hiring freeze was voted on that had a date of the end of the fiscal year. And it doesn't go past that the way I understood it. Would that be correct, Jason?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I would, move for approval, to advertise for facilities manager assistant position.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to, approve the, advertising for a facility manager assistant. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried. Thanks, Steve.
bless.
Appreciate it. Okay, the next item is discuss and consider the audit report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. We have Kevin Sylvester here tonight from Dana Cole and Company.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I apologize, our good copies did not make it in the mail today. So we just have regular paper copies.
Thank you.
And we did get this electronically
Yeah, we did
in
get-
our packet on Friday.
Stack
Sure.
them in,
Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Kevin Sylvester with Dana Cole and Company. Sylvester. You might know that.
Might have heard of you once or twice.
I know you guys have probably more meeting than you really wanted tonight, so I'll just try to be brief. Still some things I'd like to, cover and point out in here. If you turn to page 1 in the report that I just handed out, top of the page says Independent Auditor's Report. This report is essentially what we're hired to do. If we didn't do anything else, these next three pages would be what we put together. Of course, we can't really put this report together without doing a ton of work behind the scenes, getting evidence, testing transactions, testing balances, things of that nature, getting confirmations, lots and lots of work that goes behind the scenes of these next 3 pages. I'm gonna scan down through this and kind of just comment on some of the more important things here. Top of page 1, first paragraph, we have audited the accompanied cash basis financial statements of Scotts Bluff County, Nebraska as of and for the year ended June 30th, 2025. Next paragraph down, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. Next paragraph down, we conducted our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. So there's two different standards there. Generally accepted auditing standards is the basic foundation of auditing. Government auditing standards are another level of requirements for governmental entities. Next paragraph down, just calling out to the users of the financial statements that these are financial statements on the cash basis of the county, wildly different than the accrual basis of the county. Next paragraph down, management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements. Top of the next page, our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement and whether due to fraud or error, and to issue our auditor report that includes our opinions. Next sentence, pretty important sentence. Reasonable assurance is a high-level assurance, but is not absolute assurance. So we don't look at everything. We've got to do an audit. We've got to select specific transaction, higher risk transactions, or some random transactions, some random balances to look at. But certainly it is not the ocean of transactions that the county has. Next section down, in performing an audit, we exercise professional judgment, identify and assess the risks of material misstatement, obtain an understanding of internal control, evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies, and conclude about Scotts Bluff County, Nebraska's ability to continue as a going concern. Next section down on supplementary information. There is some supplementary information included with these financial statements. We have the basic financial statements, and then we have a bunch of supplementary information. On the supplementary information, top of the next page, last sentence, in our opinion, the supplementary information on pages 30 through 38 are fairly stated in all material respects in relation to the basic financial statements as a whole. Last paragraph of this report refers to government auditing standards, and that's basically our report covering our additional procedures required under government auditing standards. That report is on page 39, and we'll cover that when we get to it. Page 4, top of the page, statement of net position, cash basis. These are what we call the government-wide financial statements. Basically, the next two pages are the government-wide. So it's basically all, the whole county, all the county funds, but excluding any fiduciary funds that the county might have. Total cash at the end of the year, $9,912,000. Some 3.6 of that, 3.6 million of that is restricted. 6.2 is unrestricted. Page 5, top of the page. Statement of activities on the cash basis. Again, government-wide, so showing all expenses, all revenues of the county funds, excluding the fiduciary funds. Total governmental activities, 38 million. Charges for services that offset some of those expenses, 7.6 million. Grants and contributions of about 6.6 million. Left unfunded cost of 23,848,000. That was funded by property tax of about 12.6 million. Motor vehicle tax of 1.4 million. Other taxes of 2.3 million, which includes the inheritance tax, and some other resources, state receipts. Total other sources, 19 million. Decrease in net position of 4.1 million. Started the year at 14 million, ended the year at 9.9 million.
Kevin, why do you exclude the fiduciary funds?
Because that's what the professional reporting standards require. So fiduciary funds are somebody else's money. You don't really want them included in your money.
Okay,
We'll get to the fiduciary funds on page 8 here.
okay.
Page 6, top of the page, statement of assets and fund balances. These are what we call the fund financial statements. So it breaks down all the funds, but the county has about 38 funds. So all the non-major, and there's basically a mathematical formula to determine whether it's major or non-major. General fund's always gonna be major. Road and bridge just has enough cash going through it. It's gonna be major most of the time. The detention fund's gonna be pretty much major. The capital improvement's right on the edge. It just made major this year. I think it made major last year. All other funds are non-major funds. So you can see the breakdown there, and you can see how that goes across there and totals that 9.9 million total cash at the end of the year. The fund balances, a little bit different breakdown of fund balances. We have restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned of 9.9 million total. Page 7. Statement of receipts, disbursements, changes in fund balances, cash basis. This is again a continuation of the fund financial statements. And basically this is just reporting the receipts and disbursements. So total receipts 34 million, total disbursements 38 million, net change 4.1 million. We had transfers in and transfers out of about 11 million. Started the year at 14 million, ended the year at 9.9 million. Page 8, these are those fiduciary funds. And these fiduciary funds are primarily everything the county treasurer collects that are for other entities. So the school districts, cities, NRDs, all those other entities, that's what this is. Started the year at 2.1 million, collected about 74 million for all other entities, dispersed about 74 million for all other entities, end of the year about 2.3 million. Page 9, top of the page. These are the notes to the financial statements. And notes to the financial statements are gonna assist the user. They're gonna supplement the financial statements with some important context, verbiage of what's going on. It's gonna tell the user of the financial statements about the county's activities and operations. They're gonna tell the users about significant accounting policies employed in developing these financial statements, such as cash basis. It's gonna give details of transactions and balances. And it's gonna tell the users of the financial statements about conditions and events that might be, or significant events that might be affecting the county during the year and at the end of the year. Those the notes go from page 9 all the way back through page 26. So quite a significant portion of what we're looking at here. The notes haven't significantly changed. The amounts will change. I did a little bit of reordering of these just to make it flow a little bit better. Changed some words in them, but essentially all the notes are pretty much the same as last year. Page 27. This is the supplementary information that we covered in the report. Page 27 all the way back through page 38. Supplementary information is going to include the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, and really that's all that's doing is showing scheduling out the total expenditures on the cash basis of federal awards that the county has received. So we had a lot of that ARPA money that went out this year. We had a lot of, the transit goes out quite a bit. Other programs, child support enforcement, things of that nature. So if you turn to page 27, you can kind of see all the programs that we've got there. Bottom of page 28, 4,564,000 total federal disbursements during the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. Starting on page 30, there's some budgetary comparison schedules for all the major funds. All the major funds were listed up on the fund financial statements. And so there'll be a budgetary comparison schedule, budget and actual, for each one of those. And then on page 38, I believe, a non-major fund combining schedule. And if you look back there, you can see all the non-major funds that you guys have. Page 39. This is the government auditing standards report that we referred to in our independent auditors report. The government auditing standards are going to require the auditors to disclose any non-compliance that we might find. So maybe you didn't pay your payroll taxes, and if that were true, and there's a big balance due, we're not talking small amounts, material non-compliance. If there's big balance due and a lot of penalty due, we would be reporting that here. Also, if we found something on internal control, internal control over financial reporting, basically the ins and outs of all your dollars. If we found something that was significant there, we would report it in this report. Down at the bottom of the page, last sentence, we identified a certain deficiency in internal control that we consider to be a material weakness described in the accompanying schedule and findings and question costs as items 2025-001 that we consider to be a material weakness. And that's really the segregation of duties. I don't think anybody here is unaware of that situation. Most small entities in Nebraska, and when I say small entities, Scotts Bluff County's starting to get bigger, but we've got a lot of small offices with one person in there doing all the financial transactions, approving financial transactions, ordering stuff, receiving stuff, paying for stuff, approving stuff. That's what we call, the non-segregation of all those accounting functions. Not that any one office, it doesn't try to mitigate it as much as possible, but there's only so much mitigation you can do. And when it comes down to the end of the day, well, you look at it and you say, could you reasonably rely on this to protect from fraud or error? And you probably just couldn't. So that's why this findings is in here.
Kevin,
Yeah,
is that in there? Maybe I've asked you this before.
you probably have.
I'm sure I have. This is not our first one here. By having that comment in there, does that remove any liability from Dana Cole if in fact something were to happen?
Well, we have obligations. It probably does have some implications on us if we don't put it in there. Does that make sense?
That's my point, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a bright line. It just isn't. It's an opinion on whether or not you have sufficient appropriate controls across the lines of everything that we would feel good about. And, you know, that number isn't a 70%, and how would you measure it? I just know that there are some significant dollars held by small offices from time to time.
Sure.
That, you know, we're at the mercy of whoever wanted to enter it, and whoever wanted to reconcile, whoever wanted to receive it, whether they even deposited it. They might not even know about it.
'Cause we see, or I see this on most of the audits that we review.
Yeah,
That comment is in
you know,
there.
I'm fairly conservative. I'm going to want to put that in there, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a good reason, you know, if there's some pushback on that, I think everybody here sees that. You know, I mean, they're not, you know, whether it's 70%, 65%, you know, that might get, you know, a little bit of discussion, but I think we all agree we do have this situation.
Okay.
So it's not like we're arguing about whether it exists. It might be arguing about to the extent it exists or not. And it's not uncommon. I would say 95% of all counties and cities in Nebraska probably have this
It's
situation.
the same thing.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
The important part is to recognize that you guys have it and be continually aware of it. And when things don't look right, because I mean, don't mean to bore you, and I know you guys want to get down the road, but that seems to be where the problem exists, is when somebody thinks, hey, you know, the auditor, he's way overcautious. It really doesn't exist. We've got good controls, and I don't have to keep my eye on stuff so much.
Okay,
That's when we do have problems.
thank you.
Page 41, top of the page, big long title that says uniform guidance at the end there. Basically, we call this our uniform guidance report. This report covers all your federal compliance requirements. It requires us to give an opinion on compliance over major federal programs, and it requires us to report on any internal control matters that affect federal programs. So there's two things that I would like to point out here. Second paragraph, in our opinion, Scotts Bluff County, Nebraska complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements referred to above that could have a direct and material effect on each of its major federal programs for the year ended June 30th, 2025. And we did have two major programs. The first one was that ARPA money, and the second one was transit. And so we looked at those. Those are the same two programs we had the year before. Reporting on internal control, page 43, top of the page, last sentence. We consider the deficiencies in internal control over compliance described in the accompanying schedule of findings and question costs as items 2025-001 to be a material weakness. And again, that's the segregation of duties, and it applies to the financial statements and to the federal dollars also. Federal dollars require that there be sufficient appropriate internal controls over those federal dollars. And there's a lot of, gray stuff going on in there. Probably the biggest thing about the county is, all these programs are, this office has this program, this office has this program, this office has this program. And what's the county struggles against is getting somebody to be kind of the federal person with the hat on there, and that keeps track of all the federal programs, make sure compliance is met with all of them, make sure reports are filed on time, so on and so forth. Page 44, top of the page, schedule of findings and question costs. This I would just refer to as a cheat sheet for the feds. After we get done here, we will have to submit this to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. And I imagine the Federal Audit Clearinghouse doesn't look at anything other than this sheet. This basically summarizes everything regarding the federal programs that we just covered. And then we get to the findings, which is the segregation of duties on page 45. 46 is is continuation of that. 47 is the schedule of prior audit findings. So if we had a prior audit finding that was corrected this year, we would have that listed here also. And then the county's response on page 48, the corrective action plan. I know that was probably longer than you guys wanted.
You're getting a lot better, Kevin.
I'm getting faster?
Yes, I mean.
Is it better or faster, or both?
It's
Both.
better, yeah.
Both.
No, that's,
You're moving right
Because a
along.
lot of people would say faster is better.
Appreciate that. Any comments? We might start with the commissioners if there's any. I might have a couple, on page 20.
Page 20.
Page 20 talks about the debt, primarily long-term debt. We have some, equipment debt, and then the one that's the notes payable for the building, is that the detention center?
No, that is a very old grant that went south. I believe it was a hangar, airport hangar, back when the airport was part of the county. County got a grant to build a hangar for somebody. Money went out to build the hangar. The business went under, had a big note to pay back to the state of Nebraska. And the county basically ended up with the building back. And now, Alec is leasing it and paying the note directly. It's still the county debt, but Alec's leasing it, paying $22,200 annually directly to the bank.
But they're paying that, we're not, and, cause I see it goes all the way into November of 35,
Yep.
2035. Alright.
Yeah, none of that transaction even hits the county's books. We have to do a journal entry after the fact.
Okay. So, I guess, at least one of my goals, since I've been on the, commissioners, and that is to try and help, minimize debt. I hope we have done that. We are fortunate that, we've been able to borrow at fairly inexpensive rates over the years and refinance some of these, and probably the average here, when you take out the one for that prior building that I mentioned, these are probably averaging 2% or less. And, in interest fees, which is good. But, in fact, one of them, 0.95 percent, and, which is good, but, I guess that, from what I'm seeing is that, these are being paid down, it looks like, from the beginning balance to the ending balance by about $1 million annually. And I'm looking at the bottom of page 20.
Let's see here.
About $1.2 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably $1 million in just the bonds. Well, you know, it does go up a little bit each year, and that's if you don't add any more.
The principal payments go
Right,
up.
right, just the principal payments.
Right. All right, I think I understand those, and hopefully, we haven't added to the bonds for quite some time, and, that part is good. We did, add some money, I believe, at one point to buy some equipment, and that may be the very first one there, but, for the most part, many of these are old, bonds and, have been here quite some time. All right, so then my only other thing is, page, 45, which, is indeed the, we talk about the, having the separation of duties, and we talk about it every year, we talk about it at length, and we talk about how from a technical standpoint, the cost to add additional people, we have to weigh that against risk and what kind of concerns do we have.
Well, I think that's what you should do, in my opinion. I mean, it's not gonna do any good to spend $1 million to protect $20.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's gotta be a reasonable thing.
Right.
Certainly, we have some petty cash around the county. You know, the petty cash is kept at $45 or something, $50. How much do you wanna spend trying to protect that?
Right.
You know, probably none, but you just say, hey, keep a running list of what we're spending out of that petty cash.
Right.
And that's,
General.
that in that case is enough control.
Right.
I know, we're kinda, well, there are some situations we would like to see get better.
Sure.
That, I'm talking with Robert about. I think he has a good understanding of why I have more concerns for some items. And, we haven't accomplished, that good, mitigating control yet. But he tells me we're gonna do it by June 30th, so.
Yeah,
Got another 15 days.
I know he would like to get that line item off of the audit report. And I know that it's been
That-
there
that
for
will be
years
tough.
and
It'll just
years
be
and
tough.
years. Yeah, it'll be tough. Let me
It's
just
an area
ask you
audit,
this,
Steve.
and I think this is one of the important things that always needs to be asked, and that's that generally speaking in layperson's terms, I think we as lay people generally think about the audit, helping us to, have a process and a procedure in place that helps guard against fraud and theft. And in light of some of the recent information we've heard on the news and whatever, we like to think it doesn't happen, but the fact is it does. And we're, I think, just hearing, a little bit on the surface of some of those things right now. But, in your opinion, I'm assuming you haven't, suggested anything here that, that we have any concerns that you're aware of, so to speak.
I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, but I think what you're saying is, did I find anything?
Right,
No, I didn't find
Right.
anything.
all right, and
You
then,
know, other than I can see, you know, if you were talking football, is there some holes in the line? Yeah, there's some holes in the line.
Sure.
You know, there's some places the running backs could run through.
Sure. But you haven't found anything to the extent of needing to report it to us other than the audit, the controls, internal
Yeah,
controls.
yeah, I'm simply reporting on controls, not items, findings of, fraud or abuse.
Right, that's what I thought. And then, of course, one of the other things that I think in layperson's terms that we think about is that, do you consider, the county in good financial condition? Do you see any concerns about us starting to slip down and go into some kind of a deep hole or anything? Or would you consider our finances to be in an acceptable category for an organization like ours?
Well, you know, I mean, a lot of that really comes down to what your kind of focus is. I mean, I have had discussion with the boards and they've said, well, what do you recommend for a cash balance? And I said, well, you know, between September of one year and May of the other is 8 months. Well, you know, you've got to be able to stretch out, so that sometimes you're going to have 8 months worth of cash reserves to get through the next 8 months. So, you know, what's the proper one? You know, other boards say, well, I don't want any more money than we really need. You know, I mean, what's the right answer? Difficult answer, you know, because the taxpayers don't want you to be sitting on 8 months worth of cash because they could use it now. I mean, if you need 8 months of cash, we'll let them pay it over the next eight months. But they'd rather keep, you know, their check right now. So there is that horrible balance between that type of stuff. Would I say you're in bad financial condition? No, I would actually think it's getting better. I mean, the valuations are coming up. If you needed more tax revenue, I'm sure you've got levy that you can use to do that. I mean, that's not gonna be a popular thing with the taxpayers. But, you know, there have been years where you guys were right up against the lid on those things, and, I mean, if you needed an extra $1 million, you were just not gonna get it. But I think you've got some space in there now, some leeway.
I believe we do have levy authority if we needed it, and so, there are some limitations to that, that the state has put on us, but we certainly have some authority if we needed it. Okay, well, I think you've answered, what I think are the most, generally concerning items that most of our constituents have concerns about. And, I, again, have become familiar with your audit presentations over the years somewhat. And,
You could probably
Yeah.
just do it yourself
and
now.
you've done it well again, and, fairly short if I shut up, and but anyway, we appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Any other things?
I would move for approval of the audit report.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the audit report. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried.
Federal. Okay.
Okay, now we get to the fun part.
Fun part of the evening.
Yeah, discuss and consider vote on fireworks ban. And let me just say that I mentioned, taking a break, and when we're finished with this item on the agenda and the next item on the agenda, we do plan to take a break, so I'll just mention that to you. All right, so Mr. Reisig, this was put on by you.
Yeah, last meeting I voted wrong with my little doohickey here, but I don't know, I wanted to vote for the people to have fireworks, I did not vote for the ban at the last meeting. And I still feel strongly that way. I think our fireworks are almost a constitutional amendment, the way things are put together. I mean, I don't think we ought to really sit here and regulate what people can and can't do. I don't think that's why I took this job. I think we took this to make the county better, make things work better. But I think leave the decisions of what they're doing to themselves. The second thing is, if we're gonna regulate it, then we're gonna have to, bring the sheriff department in. They're gonna have to regulate everything that happens. I don't know that they could keep up with the calls. I think there's a whole lot of stuff that goes with that really, they get enough the way it is. But once we ban it, then we have to regulate it or maintain it. I don't know however you're gonna go about it. We don't have more than 6 deputies out at any one time. And the other thing, we're gonna hurt people that are selling the products. I mean, they planned on it, and I'll tell you, I've been, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too, our rains usually come in May. April showers bring May flowers, then usually in June it quits raining. We've had pretty good rains here this month. The grass is greener than a lot of 4th of Julys that I've seen. We've had some really dry, I live out in the country, and we've seen some really dry 4th of Julys, and we still had fireworks. We take a rubber hose out, we stretch it so it covers a great big area of the yard. We've had fireworks, we've had little tiny mini fires, but we put things out, or we wet things ahead of that normally, and I feel like we need to let this into everybody's, let them decide if they want fireworks or not. So I'd like to, bring it back to a vote again.
Yeah, I voted for the ban last time, and I went about visiting with fire personnel, EMS personnel, other individuals that have to deal with these issues if things go south. And I was really surprised, of the fire chiefs I talked to and the firefighters I talked to, EMS people I talked to, they were against the ban. Which kind of surprised me. I called around to different people within my district and other districts that I knew. I had mixed results. I had some were against the ban. I had a few that were for it. Today I was bombarded with a lot of texts and phone calls, and they had some pretty good arguments. I thought it was really interesting. One individual I talked to, I brought up his feelings on cigarette butts being tossed out of a vehicle. He says, I'm a smoker and I have a bad habit of doing that. And I said, well, that's one thing I've noticed. I live out in the country. I got a lot of dry land pasture on my place. And I noticed this year, for some reason, there's a lot of extra cigarette butts on my driveway that people toss out. And that kind of concerns me. And then I thought about the state statute that were used in the fireworks ban. It's pretty broad. It only mentions fire when it comes. There's fireworks themselves have their whole set of different state statutes. And I even talked to the fire marshal, and he said he had no authority to issue a ban. And so I've been back and forth on this thing. I see where people are coming from. But then my personal opinion is, where do we draw the line with us telling people what they can and cannot do? I really thought if people were really, really concerned, and I think they are, and I think most people, if they do fireworks, they're going to do them whether there's a ban or not, and they're going to use extra precaution. And I really struggle the fact that we're a constitutional republic. And that means the people. People have rights. And I feel as a county commissioner, I need to be very careful when I go to tell people what they can and cannot do. Do I have a state statute that backs me 100%? And I'm not comfortable with this particular statute 'cause it's so broad. And I was talking to a fire chief that mentioned that Terrytown used that same state statute back in 2021 to ban fireworks, and they were not successful. I understand where people come from. I got dry land pasture, and I always worry about it 'cause I have neighbors that set off fireworks. I've not had any issues out there in 30-some years. But I rely real heavily on the opinion of firefighters and fire chiefs. And all the ones I talked to, I never met one, except for one chief in our local area that was against fireworks. The rest of them I talked to were either non-committed or they felt that banning fireworks was overkill. And so, as a commissioner, it's really tough for me. I'm gonna tick off somebody either way I vote. So I'm gonna have to vote my own good judgment in this. And believe me, it is a very hard, difficult decision. I really value people's rights. We live in a society where we have tons of people out there saying, no, we have no right to interfere with their rights. A lot of stuff that they think they have rights for, I disagree with, but that's their opinion. I have my opinion. But another thing that kind of makes me wonder, how come all of a sudden, starting about 1 o'clock today, I started getting texts and phone calls? That bothers me. That tells me somebody's organizing something, and I don't know what purpose it's for. So that's where I stand. I'm really concerned about overreach. And in good conscience, I really have to give our citizens the benefit of the doubt that they will make wise and safe decisions.
I think we have this item on the agenda, which, and Jason, you might correct me if I'm wrong, but we have this, which probably simply open the door for some additional discussion. And to me, this item says discuss and consider. But to me, the next item is really gonna be where we need to probably have a motion, and that will probably make the decision whether or not we're gonna officially ban fireworks or not. But that's just a thought I have. I don't know if you agree with that.
Well, I guess it would depend on if somebody made a motion on this particular agenda item, I guess,
Or
as
not.
to whether or not the resolution is
Would
moved or
void
not.
Gonna be considered. Well, I'll just say a couple things. Most of you know that I voted no, or I voted to allow fireworks at the last meeting. A couple things I would say, and that's that, as Mike said, that this is a very difficult situation. The fact that we do have dry conditions, we do have the fire going on right now in the Crawford area. Fortunately, it appears that they have the majority of that under control, but it is a difficult thing to think about and consider, plus all the other fires that have been going across the state in the last 60 days. I did probably have 6 or 8 either text or phone calls today. The majority of those were in favor of banning fireworks. But I also find it difficult to, regulate, people, and take their, I'll call it rights away, and some might call it a privilege to, shoot off fireworks, and I've always been supportive of fireworks in general, but certainly this year causes us to, reconsider and be careful because of the extreme, dryness. No matter what, we do know that, if a ban is put in place, it will be difficult to enforce. I mean, obviously, we won't be able to enforce all of the, violations that would occur. But my hope would be is that for the majority of the people, that we could trust them to use, safety as a primary concern and common sense. And, that was my hope, when I voted 2 weeks ago. And, I believe that that's still where I'm standing on this, unless I hear something new and different tonight from whoever. And we wanna certainly give, the rest of the commissioners time to say anything, and then we wanna be sure that we allow anyone in the audience to speak as well on this subject, so. Ken, do you have,
Yeah, I do. You know I do.
yeah,
I find it interesting that, there are firefighters out there that think that we should not ban anything. I took it upon myself to make some phone calls also. Since our last meeting, other than what the comments coming up here, I've had one person tell me that we shouldn't ban fireworks. And he lives in the country, surrounded by dry pasture, and just had a fire less than a year ago. And I questioned, I said, aren't you concerned? No, it'll be fine. I said, well, I don't think it is, but that's between you and I. And I don't know what fire chiefs, Mr. Blue talked to, but I talked to, 4 or 5, 2 or 3, maybe 2 or 3. Had 4 or 5 on my list, but a couple of them were up in Crawford fighting fire. So I couldn't get a hold of them, still haven't got a hold of them, I left them a message. Other than one, there was a written response, which I didn't fully understand of the reasoning for not doing it. And I won't go much further with that. But the rest of them were either, cut it back to a day or 2 or ban it altogether. And these were the fire chiefs, these weren't firefighters. And they had good reasons to do it. One of them, had just gotten back from Crawford. She said, we're tired, our firefighters are tired. We don't need to do anything else. And I've heard it more than once that, well, it's not that dry and we're okay. We haven't had a drought like this since the Depression. I don't know if anybody understands that. It's dry, it's really dry out there. And I'm as concerned, and I know with both of you gentlemen, I don't want you to be losing any money either. And we're not doing it so that you can't sell fireworks. We're just trying to keep it contained into an area where it's not going to be quite as devastating as it could be. If it's in town, we can't control what goes on in town. That's the mayors in the cities that do that. The mayors and the city council people. But my reason for bringing it up to begin with was to provide some kind of protection, and we would hope that even if we didn't do it, people are smart enough to know that if you're surrounded with dry grass, that you're gonna be careful. I live in the city limits, and I've got 2 pastures behind my house. And if one of those go off, or both of them go off, It's going to affect my house. It's going to affect everybody on my block, every one of them, clear up to 20th. And I don't dislike fireworks. We shoot them off. We do it in a different area, but nevertheless, it's interesting that I hear firefighters saying, well, I don't think you should ban it. In my opinion, and I've had some extensive experience in firefighting, you would think they would go, you know what, that's not a bad idea. Help us out. Give us a break. Help us out. So I guess I question firefighters that are saying, yeah, let's not ban it. I think we're okay. I think we can handle it. I disagree with that. I know how I'm going to vote. Well, you're looking at me, so I'm just.
Well, I'm looking because you're talking, but
Yeah.
you're lecturing me.
No, I'm not. I don't.
Firefighters are the ones that are giving you the feedback. I'm
Yeah.
not a firefighter.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
The people reached out to them.
No, I have a tendency, if I'm talking to somebody, if you're looking at me, I'll talk to you. I'm fine.
Okay, I'll quit looking at you.
Yeah, all right. Really?
Well, no, I'm just saying.
That's okay. That's all right. I thought I was doing you a favor, but that's okay. But again, I don't know what, if any, it's going to affect sales, because we don't do that. That's handled by the cities. I think you sell as much fireworks as you normally do, but I'm not in the business. You know more about it than I do. So that's what I have to say on it.
Matt, you wanna say anything at this?
I do. So 2 weeks ago, I introduced this resolution with the intent of banning fireworks outside of the incorporated areas or outside of the municipalities. To me, it made sense to allow it in places where we could better control it and there mitigate the chance for fires in these rural areas where it is so dry, just so dry. And I too, I talked to all of the 7 fire chiefs in this county, all of them. 5 of the 7 supported an outright ban against the fireworks in these unincorporated areas. 6 of them supported either a ban or at least a limited number of days where we could better mitigate this chance for fires. I'm a history teacher, or was, and I have looked at history, and I would say that this drought that we are experiencing is unprecedented. Perhaps it's as worse as it was in the 1930s, but I would say it's definitely not anything that I've ever experienced, nor anyone that I've talked to. So I see the concern for fire is just so great. You talk these firefighters the chiefs that I talk to, and they are coming off the line from up in Sioux County, Dawes County, coming off the line, talking to me that night. I think they see the potential for these large fires. I don't want to be draconian in how we impose any kind of law against people's rights. I get that, and I also understand the economic side of this. That people whose livelihood is the sale of these the fireworks, and I get that. But to me, allowing it in the incorporated areas allows for the expression, I guess, of setting off fireworks. They can do it, but they can do it in a way and in a manner that is easier to control. And we'll come away from this 250th celebration, which it's a big deal. We can come away from it not having any loss of life or property that is a result of fires caused by those fireworks. So that's kind of where I'm at. And to me, the chiefs, their response was overwhelming. That please, step up, take a position that may be unpopular, but it's a position that, under the circumstances, I feel needs to be made. So that's where I'm at on it.
One more thing, I tried to contact, Fireworks Unlimited. I left you a couple messages, 2 or 3 I didn't have your phone number.
I think you might have the wrong number.
Well, no,
Our
I,
Facebook, we got it blocked because a law 2 years ago lumped us in with firearms and explosives.
Really?
So
Okay,
we don't
I didn't
pass
know.
anything along.
but I did some checking. You had brought up something about the country clubs. The country club would be within the 2 mile radius.
I understand that too.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be annexed, I think they're moving.
Right.
Yeah, but even if they weren't, they were still in that extraterritorial one. As far as the racetrack out there, they're
right on
not.
the border.
They're not. They're right on, yeah, they are right on the border. And that might be something we can maybe work with. I don't know. I'm just saying, but the one I know for sure is the country club.
Yep.
And that was a concern of yours.
I appreciate that.
I also, spoke to city manager of Scotts Bluff, and he said that if everything goes as planned, they'll be annexed in by then,
On the 29th, yeah.
so.
They were looking at doing their show on the 25th as well.
Oh.
Concerns.
So it
Yeah.
could have been
So
a
I
concern.
talked to them about that after
Right.
I realized they were interested.
I did talk to the mayor of Scotts Bluff. Yeah, at that particular point, this was the night after our meeting, I think. Anyway, she hadn't been contacted. She didn't know what was going to happen within the city limits. And I haven't heard anything. I don't know what they're gonna do in Scotts Bluff.
They're leaving it for 10 days.
They're gonna stay at
Their
10 days.
intention and the fire chief's communication with us was that he doesn't see any higher risk, like you had said, inside city.
Within the city limits.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
I've heard the same thing, from Matt Solomon and the mayor. They were both, a couple of my texts today, but their indication was that they don't plan to do anything in the city of Scotts Bluff, anything different than normal.
That's my understanding.
So,
And they called us in and we met with them
good,
and went over different stuff that I'm gonna share with you guys.
sure.
It's-
Yeah, and I'm letting you guys talk without coming to the microphone, and
I know.
I normally don't do that, but anyway, so if that's all from the commissioners at this point, we need to listen to whoever wants to speak on this subject. We've went through quite a few issues, but Deb, I see, you're raising your hand. You can come up and be first, and then we certainly wanna, whoever wants to say something, remember that, try and keep it as succinct as possible, and,
Are you doing for the ban first,
Absolutely.
or does it not matter?
doesn't matter at this
Okay,
point to me,
okay.
either way. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for letting me go first because I have dinner guests coming at 6. So,
Well, they're almost there.
well, the pork chops are done, the gravy's done. All I have to do is whip the potatoes and make a dessert. So I think I'll be okay. But my name is Deb, D-E-B, Meter, M-E-T-E-R. I grew up in Bayard, attended Bayard High School, graduated from there, went to WNCC for 2 years, and then moved on to Shadron, where I worked there for 28 years. And you might ask me, why in the world is she giving me her history? Well, I'm giving you this because I went through the 2006 fire in Shadron, the first one, the Spotted Tail Fire. Very, very scary. I would never wish that on my worst enemy. Never. I remember the day, it was July in 2006, and the fire had been burning for 2 days. It was extremely dry, extremely dry. We were in a horrible drought, and the winds were beginning to pick up. And so they started calling in firefighters. We had firefighters from 7 states. We had over 500 firefighters, and we had 140 men from the Job Corps who were also helping us fight the fire, because once it got started, it burned 8,000 acres in just a couple of hours. And so we had farmers, I don't know if you know the Shadron community, but they're farmers and they're ranchers. They had their heavy equipment out there. We had volunteers who had absolutely no experience at all fighting, and we had everybody doing the best that they could. And so we were thinking, okay, things are going to be okay, things are going to be okay. And then, all of a sudden, the sirens started going off. And we looked at, I don't know if you know where Sea Hill is, on the south end of Chadron. I have to remember I live in Scotts Bluff now, not Chadron. 'Cause I lived there for 40 years, actually, and taught there. And so in the high school and the college. And it was very frightening to look out to the south and see the smoke, the gray smoke billowing up behind Sea Hill, knowing that there is a huge, huge fire right behind it. The sirens are going off. We are told to evacuate from 10th Street to 5th Street. I lived on 5th Street because they knew that if the fire crossed the line, and because it was headed directly for, and I feel like I need to talk to my whole audience because I'm a teacher, but I guess I need to talk to you folks only. And so they knew that if the fire crossed that line and it got into Chadron, the college would be down, the town would be down. And so when the sirens went off, the maintenance people came in, turned on all the sprinklers. They had people on the roofs of the college wetting everything down. Everybody in town had their sprinklers on. I was evacuated. My cats were scared. I was scared. And so I packed a few things that I could, little money, cat food, of course, for the cats, nothing for me, but I packed them some food, got them in their carriers after chasing them around the house because they were very, very frightened, and I moved to 2nd Avenue where I had a friend. Okay, I didn't know if I was going to have a house when this all ended, but thank God that we had those firefighters that were there. They cut a fire line about 100 feet from where Chadron State College was, and they stopped that fire. Okay, that was an act of God. That was not preventable. People lost buildings, they lost livestock, they lost houses. Fortunately, no one was killed. That was an act of God. It cost thousands of dollars. Lots of people came to our rescue. That was an act of God. Fireworks are not an act of God. Okay, and so as you probably know, I am against fireworks. I grew up in Baird on a farm. My parents were Reinhold and Esther Meter, you may know them, and my brother Randy passed away 2 years ago, and I still have a brother Dale who's down on the family farm. He hasn't had a decent rain since last August, and so his land is tinder dry. I look at Five Rocks, in the city. It is tinder dry there too. If there's one spark, it is going to go up, and we're going to have a mess on our hands. And so, as I was saying, let me check my notes here real quickly. They stopped that fire 100 yards away from the college. And so if it hadn't been for these firefighters, we would have been in a world of hurt. And so, let me turn my page. 2 pages. Okay. So, I thought, okay, let's look at some other states. What's going on in other states? So, the first state that I checked into was Massachusetts. Total ban. No fireworks ever. Not any time during the year. Ever. No fireworks in Massachusetts. Okay. Then I looked at, I'm going to have to get my notes up here so I can see. Some states have partial restrictions where some things are allowed and some things are not allowed. And so I looked at the list of the states that have partial restrictions. They are Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Idaho, Illinois, Maryland, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Oregon. These states do not allow people to just randomly, nilly-willy, buy whatever they want and fire them off. They have restrictions with what they can buy. So I thought, aha, I'm going to look at Colorado. I want to see what Colorado does. Oh, okay, Colorado, here we go. Denver, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, Boulder, Lakewood, Arvada, no fireworks. Total ban. Okay, they do have restrictive ban. You can, if you have anything that explodes or leaves the ground, you will be fined up to $500. And so what is allowed, it would be things like sparklers, fountains, ground spinners, illuminating torches, snakes, those little black snakes that you light, and so forth, and trick whatever those things are, but I don't even know what they are. So there is a fine. It's not a total ban, but there are things that if they explode or if they're airborne, they are banned. Otherwise, you can have have you ever seen those Japanese lanterns that fly around? Oh my gosh, one year we lit one of those in Gearing, and we about burned down our neighbor's tree. And so those things are really, really, really dangerous. Okay, other states, and I need to move on here because I don't want to take up
Yeah, that's
all of
right.
your time. And so I talked about Colorado, and so I looked at South Dakota. Fireworks are banned on public lands, state parks, game production areas, national forests, and Black Hills Forest District. Local cities and counties also can enforce the bans if they want to. Iowa, you can discharge on your own private property or on someone else's with their consent. However, they're banned on public property, streets, city parks, sidewalks, parking lots, subject to local fines. And for a noise violation for fireworks is $250. Wyoming, of course, is much more relaxed. Private property, you can set them off as long as you're 150 feet away from a building. And let's see, their fines go up to $750. Let's see, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Laramie, Sheridan, they have a ban. There's no fireworks there. So in conclusion, I went through the Shadron fire of 206, the fire of 2012. We had the Morrill fire just recently, 600,000 plus acres in Morrill, Garden, Grant, and Arthur and Keith County, the largest in Nebraska city. The size that was burned is a state of the size of Rhode Island. Okay, let's see. Now we have the South Fork fires, the Soldier Creek fire. Crawford is evacuated. Sal Valley Canyon is burning. Smiley Canyon, I think, is burning. I don't know if you're familiar with Crawford. I love Crawford. I go to the parade there on the 4th of July. I take people there. I show them where Crazy Horse got killed. You know, now they stopped the fire at the fort, but around it, it is devastated. It is black. It is ugly. And so they're still working on that. I don't know. I don't know the extent of what it was. The last I heard, it was like 28,000 acres. Again, wind, extreme drought, and then the conditions that lead to the fires. Okay, so what do I suggest? I say, why risk it? Why take the risk at this point? We have already lost so much in Nebraska. Why should we take another risk? All it takes is one cigarette butt thrown out by a passing tourist. It takes one lit firecracker that the wind comes up and bursts and blows it off course into the dry grass, and what do we have? We have a mess on our hands. Now, I've heard people say, it's my right. I can shoot off those fireworks. Okay, I got out my Constitution today, and I looked at my Bill of Rights. Nowhere in there do I find anything that says that you have a right to shoot off fireworks. And so I think it depends on what you decide you want to do here. You folks are elected officials here. You are wise. We depend on what you decide. And so what would I suggest instead of putting off fireworks like we did in the olden days? Have a family picnic. Go to the Crawford Parade. Play badminton. Have beanbag toss. Go fishing. Play board games, card games. Go to the rodeo. It's wonderful. And so I would like to just end I have more here, but I got to quit. I know it's the 250th birthday. I understand that. But I think we should, if you're going to allow fireworks outside of the city limits, that they should be restricted. There should be restrictions on those. And I even read where fire marshals can actually ban fireworks. I don't know if that's true or not.
They don't have any authority.
That was Google, so you can't always go with Google at all.
There you go.
So, again, I ask, why take the chance? What is more important, some loud, pretty fireworks, or thousands of drought-stricken, bone-dry, fire-free land and without any damage? So I respectfully ask that a total ban or a restricted ban be voted in today. Nothing exploding, nothing aerial. And I also wonder, what about the liability? If you set off something and you burn somebody's barn down, who's going to pay for it? I mean, I guess that would be an attorney's question. But thank you for your time. And so if you have any questions before I head off to whip my potatoes and make my dessert, I'd be glad to answer those.
Better get home.
Okay, thank you for
problem.
your time. I
Thanks.
appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we want anyone else that wants to speak, and certainly we want you guys to be able to speak if you want to. I know, Greg, you were here before. Mr. Wilcox, you weren't, but in any event, if anyone else is here that want to speak on the issue, you're welcome to.
So I was here at the last meeting, Greg Troutman. It's GregTrautman. And I'll keep it brief. Ken, first I want to apologize to you. I shouldn't have done that. If you were looking at me,
Right,
you're welcome to
it
look at me.
wasn't- I
I
wasn't trying to
apologize.
offend you,
It
but
just, it shows you what a big decision you have on your hands, and I do appreciate that, so I just wanted to
If I see
apologize.
somebody paying attention to what I'm saying, I'm just gonna keep
Okay.
talking to them.
All right.
That's all.
And I'm sorry for that
No,
outburst.
no,
I shouldn't
no,
have done
no,
that
no
from the
offense.
public.
You're fine.
I just want to say that there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to change your minds, and I don't think it should. I'm clearly on one side of the fireworks debate. I'm glad that you guys reached out to other fire professionals, because the ones I've talked to in Scotts Bluff, Mitchell, and Bridgeport, and then obviously Garing was here to represent himself last time, so I don't need to speak to that. But the other three were not for a ban, they were for more education, and Scotts Bluff expressed to me that they have poured into that for the last 4 years, and they experienced no fires in their city limits that were caused by fireworks. So I do appreciate you guys reaching out to other professionals, because we all have a story to tell, but when it comes down to it, I think the professionals can weigh in, and they do have expertise, and I think what I've heard doesn't necessarily support a ban, and that's pretty much all I have to say for you, so.
I have a question. Didn't Gearing add some days back? 'Cause I know they cut back on days. Did they not add some days back onto that?
They didn't really
I heard-
add back. He had advocated for 4. The Public Safety Committee recommended 7. They went back and forth 3 different times and landed on 6.
That's what I thought.
discharge
They added
days.
a couple more days.
So yes,
Okay,
from what
that's
he
what
had
I heard.
recommended,
Okay,
yeah.
I just wanted to confirm that.
Yep, and my understanding from the towns I sell in, Scotts Bluff is staying at 10, which you already addressed. Bridgeport voted on Tuesday, my days are all mixed up, I've been to a lot of meetings. I think it was last Thursday. In any case, their fire chief agreed at the meeting that he'd rather have them in town. Their county commissioners are not restricting it, and they're staying at 10 days of discharge and sale. And it's my understanding that Mitchell may discuss it, but they have not acted to do anything different than 10 days of discharge and sale. And those are the communities that I sell in, so those are the ones I've dialed in on. I can't speak to what other communities are doing, but I just wanted to express, 1, that I'm sorry, Ken, I shouldn't have done that from the public. And 2, I appreciate you guys reaching out to others, so.
One
that's-
question,
yeah.
Greg, when the city decides that they're gonna do 5 days, does that restrict your sales or just the discharge?
It depends on how they write it. That's a good
Okay.
question. So usually in most ordinances, it'll say sale of fireworks, and then it'll have discharge. So Garing left it at 10 days of sale and 6 days of discharge. I'm gonna tell you, as a retailer, after experiencing New Year's sales where we were allowed to sell for 3, but you can only discharge for 1 afternoon/evening, it's not worth being open. It's kinda like saying, well, you can sell cars, we're just not gonna let you drive in our city. Well, why would I buy a car?
How you gonna get it
Right,
out of
it's
here?
kind of the same thing. It's a bad comparison, cause it's not the same, but
Okay.
when they allow me to do 6 and I express it to them, I'll be open for the 6, and I'm glad I have 6, don't get me wrong. They're not banned, so
So
that
in
is
their, in
better.
their ordinance, they are restricting your sales also?
No. They're saying 10 days of sales. I just told them it's not worth me expecting someone to staff that, because people will not buy them, is my experience.
If they
as a
can't
retailer.
explode them, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm allowed to,
I got
it
you.
just won't be open.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thanks.
thanks.
Gentlemen, thanks thanks for letting us talk. Eric Wilcox, ERICWILCOX. This is some of the information that we went over with Scotts Bluff.
Thank you.
And the first bill is, it's on all of our checkout stands. The biggest thing is education to people and let them know, you know, how to do it properly. If you see the second page, Chris with the fire department in Scotts Bluff sent me last year's copy of this deal, so it kinda looks a little choppy because I had to like zoom it up, so it looked bad, but, the rural Scotts Bluff Fire Department brings in us these cards. We hand these out to all of our customers while the supply's there.
I like this.
And then this is a bigger card too, that's from Gearing and Scotts Bluff and the rural. And then Greg talks about it too. We've really focused on bracing your cakes so they don't tip over. What I've seen historically, cause this will be 50 years that we've sold fireworks. The people who live in the rural areas that would be affected, they don't come in. And they'll see me after the season and they'll say, hey, sorry, we didn't come in and buy anything because it was just too dry around our area. The people who know they can do it because they prep their area or they have dirt fields next to them, they'll be the ones that come in. And the idiots that are gonna be idiots are gonna do it regardless if we change something or don't change it. Those are the outliers that you're gonna make legal law-abiding citizens question whether or not they should do it to celebrate the 250th. So I would hate to see, cause there's a few bad actors out there, you're calling everybody idiots or morons and they're not, they don't know what's best for their land out in the county. Because if somebody comes from the city and lights it out there, it's illegal anyway, cause you can't just light it on the county roads. Can't light it on the highways, all that stuff's illegal for the get-go. So if you have dry areas around your house, you're not gonna light fireworks, whether you're in city limits or out. Most people have enough common sense that they will not push the line. Somebody mentioned we could catch the monument on fire one year. The stuff that we sell is not the pyrotech stuff. This stuff is regulated where it's maybe 80 feet tall, if that. The lanterns that was brought up, those are banned. You can't sell, it's even on that sheet, you can't sell those lanterns anymore. But the interesting fact, you can buy them on Amazon and they'll ship them to you. So those aren't coming from us or any of the other retailers if you see lanterns, because they're illegal.
I find it interesting that for years you couldn't shoot off a pop bottle rocket. Well, they did, cause they went to Wyoming and bought them, but
Yeah.
Nebraska banned them. And their sole thing was that anything that goes up in the air and continues to burn was illegal. Okay, and that was the reason for the pop bottle rockets or any other thing that went up in the air,
Yeah.
the lanterns, the whatevers.
So the first year when we could sell bottle rockets, they were huge. But now that they're not illegal, they're not even a major factor in what we sell. I mean, I've got a limited space to put them anymore because I thought, oh, these are gonna go. They didn't.
Yeah.
Cause once it became that.
But it was a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
anything that went up in the air and continued to burn was illegal. Pop bottle rockets, and they had a whole list of those things that
And we have
that we had to look for.
our wholesalers and the state, they view what the federal guidelines are. And if they have a certain fail rate on a firework, they will pull those and they'll call us and say, hey, I know you bought 5 cases of those, pull them off the shelves. We're finding out that they're tipping over or not. That's why the brace the cakes, by putting blocks next to them, they're not tipping over and going where they're not intended. So through education, that's why Scotts Bluff's also on their Facebook page and just flyers, they're gonna be in they asked if they could come in our locations and hand out stuff to the little kids and to the parents and stuff this year because of how dry it is. At some point, we've got to rely on the community as a whole, that they're gonna make the right choice. You're always gonna have the outliers, and there's nothing we just can't fix stupid. You guys know that,
Oh, that's right.
so.
Talk from here. Just to your point about it coming down hot, so the regulation was a state tested thing, and each distributor could test 10 products, and the state fire marshal, if it came down hot, would ban that item. And it became burdensome because if the item wasn't listed by name on the sheet, you couldn't sell it. Well, one year they listed the name wrong, and so it was a legal item, but since there were 2 R's put on mother, you couldn't sell that item. So they went back and said, well, if it's classified by federal DOT standards, basically, and then others, it's a consumer firework, and they follow the same standard you're saying. I think that's a good point, though, that you made, because sometimes when we talk about fireworks, if we're against them, we think they're completely unregulated and unreliable. And the truth is, if it comes down hot, and if they don't go off at 99.8% in the air, they get banned and pulled. So to act like fireworks are bound to go off on the ground is inconsistent and not correct. So I think you made a good point, that these are actually highly regulated, even the ones we sell. And so they're actually safer than people wanna believe. I'm not gonna tell you there's no accidents, cause that's not true, but that's
Yeah.
true of a lot of things in society. So that's still how it works, there still are strict regulations.
Okay. I'll let Greg speak from back there, cause I thought he was gonna say about 6 words.
Sorry. I just got
But he
waited,
went
man.
to a whole lot more than that, and if we're doing that, we gotta come to the microphone.
Okay, I
For
apologize.
me?
Thanks.
Okay. No,
All right,
thank you
thanks.
guys.
We may have questions later, but
Okay.
anyone else? Okay, just a couple new questions from me, and that's, so the primary thing that I've saw, I mean, I've certainly talked to some individuals, but as far as the communities go, is what I've either read or saw in the news, it appears to me that the majority, there are some limitations on the number of days, but no one has fully, well, did Morrill fully,
There's 7.
they're 7 now,
Kimball County did, I think, I just read
Banner
that.
County banned it, I believe.
and that was my question is,
And Kimball, I think, as well. I think because what we've done on this original, I think they're following suit, and I think that we need to end that.
And that's what was happening after our meeting. I had 2 meetings with the 11 Panhandle, and they were all going to talk about it or get ready to do it or whatever, so.
so as far as we know then, the ones that are banned, we talked about Keith County originally, that had, done it and has done it in more than one occasion. And now you're saying Banner County and Kimball County,
But I think they followed our suit and what we've done.
right? But they have, banned fireworks.
I don't know if Morrill has it. You know if Morrill County had? I hadn't heard Morrill County had. I heard Kimball had.
Morrill was going to talk about it and Cheyenne was going to discuss it. I haven't heard what they're.
I hadn't either, but I did hear Kimball had.
And Deb mentioned several things, and Deb and I know each other well, and, I'm not quite so, concerned about those states or cities or whatever that have banned fireworks for the last 50 years. My real question is, how many have taken action to do something different now, based upon the drought? And that's what, has
Well, I think we've
caught my
triggered,
attention
we've
more.
triggered that, I think.
Yeah, more than the, other things. And, but it appears at least the cities are, seem to be more tolerant of the fireworks, and virtually haven't seen any outright total bans from cities, as much as partial bans or partial limitation on days or whatever. So, it is, a difficult subject and, difficult decision to make, no matter what. And, but anyway, I'm just of the opinion here that, that our primary vote would be with the next item, but I guess I would just ask, is there,
I'd like to make a motion.
Yeah, it's on the agenda, so you
Right.
have that
Right.
right to do. That's
Go
what I was
ahead.
gonna bring up.
Make a motion that we can reconsider our vote and allow fireworks in Scotts Bluff County.
I'll second that.
okay? So we have a motion to reconsider our vote from 2 weeks ago and allow fireworks in Scotts Bluff County. And we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Clarify what your votes, not what your vote's gonna be. If you vote yes, or if you vote no, you're voting yes to not ban it,
Yes,
or you're voting no,
a vote for a yes would be to remove the ban.
remove the ban. Okay, just point it
Sure.
out.
Allow
'Cause
I agree.
fireworks.
We don't want that to happen.
A yes would allow fireworks, is that
Well,
what I
yes,
understand?
a yes would allow fireworks and remove the ban.
Okay. Thank you. Let's vote.
Yep, if there's no other discussion, go ahead and vote.
You have 3 yeses and 2 nays being Parsley and Meyer.
Alright, so 3 yeses would allow fireworks. And, so it changes what we did 2 weeks ago.
So there's no reason to move to the next item.
I don't believe so.
Jason,
So-
do we still need to make a motion on it since it was a resolution in the packet?
The next item,
Do
Yeah, I mean,
not-
somebody would either need to remove it or vote on it. It's a practical matter, if votes
I
would be
make-
practically
do we
moot,
need
but
a
it's still
motion to
an
remove
agenda
that?
item.
Would you like a motion to remove that?
That would be one option, or somebody could ask for
Or is it even necessary now?
Well, it's on the agenda. I think we have to get it off the agenda, don't we? I mean,
Or a motion to disapprove the resolution? Would that work?
do it that way.
to dissolve it or whatever. I'll make a motion to dissolve the resolution
I'll
as
second it.
presented.
alright, we have a motion and a second to, disallow or dissolve the resolution that was prepared. That was going to to ban fireworks in the county. And, any other discussion? So we're gonna vote, but I wanna be sure then that we understand that this vote was, if we vote yes, it's to disapprove
Dissolve it.
or dissolve it.
Would it, just a point of clarification, would not be easier, cause the way it reads is to discuss an approval of it. So if you're going to vote to approve it, it's a yes vote. If you're gonna vote not to approve it, it'd be a no vote, correct?
Well, I understand what you're saying.
We're
It's
changing
not
the
the way
wording.
he really,
We're just gonna dissolve,
You're really changing the wording of
can
it.
we just dissolve it and take it out of the,
Well, that's what I
agenda?
mentioned earlier, doing it that way.
can we just can I change my motion or do I have to retract my motion? What do I have to do? Let's retract it and redo the motion then.
I just wanna do it the best
Uh,
legal way.
Well, I thought we just made the motion to dissolve it, did I not?
But that's not what it says on, what I'm going by, Russ, is what
Okay.
it's saying on here,
All right,
is discuss and consider the approval. So if you wanna bring it up to approve it, then you either vote like to approve it or not approve it. And if there's not a motion, or there's not a second, then it dies for lack of motion.
what did you got there?
Well, I mean, if
Uh,
you wanted to pull your motion and then deal with it that way, that would be an option.
How, would you recommend that?
Cause what you're doing is basically changing what is on the agenda that
Well, Okay, we meet, okay, I'll retract my motion, and you'll have to retract
I'll
yours.
retract my second.
If I make another motion and I don't get a second, I'll be in pretty good shape.
So then the issue is whether you wanna vote to remove this agenda item, or whether you just wanna vote on, I think Mr. Meyer's suggestion is you just vote yes in favor of the resolution or no in opposition to the resolution.
Can I make a
Or-
motion to remove the agenda item?
You're saying he could do that, and it would make it cleaner, maybe? To remove the.
Well, I think the
the-
cleanest would just be to vote up or down on the resolution that's on
Okay.
the
The
agenda.
way it's stated.
It would
on
be
here.
the same result, so if you wanna just go with what's on the agenda, just,
Cleaner.
I move to approve the resolution as written, banning fireworks outside of the incorporated areas in Scotts Bluff County.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second, so obviously, again, the vote yes would be to continue the ban.
Just a second.
vote no-
Wouldn't my deal have removed the ban? Isn't the ban removed now since we just voted to remove the ban?
Yes,
Why
it
would
has.
we vote on it through resolution of the ban,
The easiest way would be to make a motion to strike this particular agenda item.
Let me just say, we have a motion, we had a, agenda item, and it says what it says. And I believe at this point, we have a motion and a second, we've already wiped out one, and I think we can accomplish whatever needs to be accomplished here by either voting for this resolution or voting no that we don't. And obviously, in this case, a yes vote would continue banning fireworks, and a no vote would say that we do not want to approve the resolution, and which would ban fireworks. I mean, would not ban fireworks, I'm so sorry. All right, so that's the motion and second that we have. So again, yes vote would ban fireworks, no vote would allow fireworks, okay? All right, any other discussion?
I think that's backwards, Mark, but go ahead. So seriously, but go ahead, we'll do it, whatever. I just wanna make sure that how we're voting is
Okay, now I'm
correct.
gonna ask Ken's question. Now, a no vote makes it go away, correct?
Right, because you are not moving forward on a resolution by voting
this
no.
Sure I get my
By
finger on the right
voting no.
trigger here.
By voting yes, then you're moving forward with a resolution as on the agenda, correct, Jason?
yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, we need a no
okay,
vote.
I know we had a issue with voting 2 weeks ago, and I wanna eliminate that if it's all possible,
That's right.
so, all right.
So a yes vote is to continue with the resolution. No vote is to not continue with the
Allow
resolution.
fireworks,
Approve the
Okay.
resolution.
okay. All right, so with no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
You have 2 yeses, 3 nays being Harris, Blue, and Reisig.
All right, so the motion is not passed, and,
The matter's, it's over.
yeah, the resolution is, over, and, so at this point, fireworks will be allowed. Okay. We're gonna take an 8-minute recess. We'll plan on being back here at 6:42.
We tried that. That's all we can say. We tried. It just,
Maybe 25 million years old, or it was a long time ago, but,
back when it was a lake.
yeah, when it was a lake, that's correct, but.
I'm sorry, what was that, Betty?
I think you do those bad lands, you have to get special permission, like the park encourage that. A lot of people, he lets the surf go out there once in a while. Practice stuff out there. Tracks.
It is.
Amazing stuff. You have to be crisp.
You can actually table the item if you don't have enough information.
Just amazing.
I've got some dinosaur eggs in my, that I got working up in the monument up there, working up
Well,
on,
and, you know, again, my thing was, that's what was on the agenda.
got a pretty big cluster.
That's what amazed me. Generally, you got this clay sandstone. And now in Italy,
However it says, you can't change it. I got hammered for that on the school board.
it's like they carved
Big time.
Oh, you
So
know,
that,
I haven't
that
seen those.
comes in really, really clear.
Out here at the monument, is that right?
So they always
I didn't do that.
mom and dad's
And I am all ready, Mark.
greatest.
Yeah, we used to access that from Jack McDermott's his pasture.
Jack's dead.
Jack McDermott.
Yeah, I know Jack.
Yeah, his pasture borders that.
Oh, his pasture.
We used to.
Pasture, not pasture,
Yeah,
pasture.
yeah, we used to practice in his field and then Quetzal. And he let us go out on that. He says, I let you go out.
Justin did that? I know he did.
I know Justin real well.
That's Fred's boy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, I've known him. He was
Yeah,
working
I know.
when he was in high school.
to go there,
Yeah.
but she still goes,
Yeah, he had a little bit of tractor back up.
She,
Really
she
interesting.
comes to choir practice
We're
in
his
our
go-to
church
guys
sometimes,
if they have a
yeah.
problem.
So,
yeah,
yeah,
when he went to
but I knew her
But
brother,
that
park skipping this year.
she had the one that I normally play.
Oh,
He
yeah.
went out
Yeah,
to
you
Philadelphia.
yeah,
He worked
yeah,
for
he
him.
went
Years
there.
ago.
Like, yeah, on the-
And
Well,
of
both
course
of them.
Dale's the young
always
one,
wanted
but
to
Randy
know how
was
his folks
the
made it
guy.
out.
No, Dale's still alive.
Dale's still on the farm. We were,
Yeah.
we tried to talk him into listing this.
You know, bad thing I see.
What's that?
Bad thing I see.
Okay, sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. The meeting will come back to order. We're on the back page of the agenda, I believe, the item at the very top, which says discuss and consider approval of appointing Fred Cowweasel to the Scotts Bluff County Veterans Service Committee.
That's a
Matt, I think, had given us this letter.
he's a reappointment. He's been
Yeah,
there a long.
yeah, he's been there a long time.
I would
And,
move for approval.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve, appointing Fred Caldweasel to this, position for the Veteran Service Committee. Any other discussion?
Ken must be getting hungry.
No,
Hearing none, we'll
Pushing him
vote.
right through now.
We just got stuff to do. Come on, there you go.
You have 5 yeses?
Motion's carried. All right, we'll go to the next item, discuss and consider authorizing Robert Simpson to close a Platte Valley Bank account held outside the treasury, Scotts Bluff County Clearing Warehouse Flex, approximate balance of $29,000. Funds would be deposited into the self-funded insurance account, which is managed by the treasurer. Robert?
Yes, so similar to 2 weeks ago, the board approved us to clear 2 other clearing accounts that had approximately $285,000 in it to put back into the treasury, because that was what was recommended by the APA, that we shouldn't have those funds sitting outside of that. This particular account is a defunct account that it was being used to put money in and be basically money in, money out for the Flex account, for our old Flex account that would have ended at the end of 2025. So we have a new HSA, new Flex. So this has been, roughly the $29,000 has been a reconciling item for years and years. I suspect that when this account was open, there was a large amount of money put in there just to have in case there was, crossing as far as deadlines with, over month ends. So reconciling items. So that money's stagnant now. It's not bearing any interest. And if we get it back in the treasury, Heather can manage that, and it'll go right into that self-directed insurance fund that we have for claims.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second.
think Ken had a question.
Did you have a question?
No.
No, he was second.
No, I was just gonna,
We got a second and a third. All right,
Well-
so we have a motion and a second to, approve, the, closing of this account. Any other discussion?
Didn't you say that money's been sitting out for a long time?
Yeah, years. I know it was there. But certainly Charlotte's been here 4 years and it's been out there. It's been a reconciling item in this account. And it was there, I think, when Rose was here, so kind of shaking her head. So it's been there for a long time. Yeah.
All right,
Just manage our money better.
We just need to manage the people's money a little better, yeah.
Yeah.
all right, we'll go ahead and vote.
One more time, Matt. Very good.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried. Go to the next item, which is discuss and consider a resolution for borrowing from the inheritance fund. Robert?
Yes, so each June, this is something you guys have seen every year. Each June, a resolution is prepared for borrowing money from the inheritance account, the Keno account, and the capital improvement account. And this is to help fund those departments whenever, because we obviously have our large tax collection months in May and in September. And those months between September and May get a little lean, and departments have to borrow from this to make ends meet, so to speak. So we're talking about one. There's 3 resolutions. They're all worded the same except for the particular fund. Would you like me to read the first resolution for inheritance?
Well, for the purpose of those maybe watching, why don't you go ahead and read it? They're fairly short. We'll read this one, but we won't read the next ones.
That's right, because
Okay.
it's the same resolution except for different accounts.
Same language, yeah.
So the first resolution is for inheritance fund. It states, whereas special revenue funds of Scotts Bluff County at times during the budget year experience cash flow shortfalls due to payments being due before adequate revenue collections have been made, and whereas a loan transfer of inheritance funds can be made to offset these shortages. Be it therefore resolved that an amount not to exceed a cumulative total of $800,000 be loaned to these special revenue funds as needed from the inheritance fund. The Board of Commissioners will be notified as these loans occur as an agenda item in an advertised public meeting. These loans are to commence on June 15th, 2026, and are to be repaid by all the special revenue funds that receive loans no later than June 30th of 2027. Dated this 15th day of June 2026 at Gehring, Nebraska. And it has room for all 5 commissioners to sign and attestation from the county clerk.
Okay, so this specific resolution is for borrowing from the inheritance fund, is the first one.
I'll move that we allow the Robert Simpson Management Accountant to borrow against the inheritance fund
Per the resolution.
for the resolution.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution to borrow from the inheritance fund. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried. Next item, Robert, you wanna give the short version?
Sure. Short version, same resolution except for the Keno lottery funds for a total amount that could be loaned is up to $400,000.
Any discussion? Hearing none, entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the resolution for borrowing from the Keno Fund
Okay.
to the amount of $400,000.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the resolution for borrowing from the Keno Fund. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried. All right, we have one more, discuss and consider resolution for borrowing from the Capital Improvement Fund. Robert?
Yes, same resolution verbiage. The difference being it is for the capital improvement, fund, and, loans could not exceed a cumulative total of $1 million.
Any discussion? Entertain a motion?
I move to approve the resolution for borrowing from the capital improvement fund.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the resolution to borrow from the capital improvement fund. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Matt, one more time. They don't always take the first time.
You have 5 yeses.
Motion's carried.
So I'm going to pass the 3 resolutions around. I require all 5 signatures, and you can just give it to oh, you've got it?
Yeah, I have them.
Yeah,
Okay, she's got it.
All right. So yeah,
Scratch
just
that.
well start it down here. Just start it down here. Then it'll end up in your hands.
You were prepared.
All right, the next, yeah, these are all signed. Yep.
We don't have a recycling box, so this is trash up here. And I'm not gonna ask for one.
Yeah.
I got spanked last time.
All right, so the next area is old business, which says none. So we'll go on to public comments. Board of Commissioners will receive public comments on items discussed at this meeting or suggestions for items of discussion at a future board meeting. The board will not take action on comments presented this date. So I know that we had the NRD people here, but I'm thinking that they're not here now.
We got one guy in the back, we ought to let him speak.
What do you wanna know about?
Oh, anything.
Well, we're going to under the next item.
Oh, the next item.
Yeah,
We haven't
this
got
is,
there yet.
this is public comments.
Is NRD coming back?
Who?
Is
In-
Scott coming back to talk to us?
Who's that?
NRD.
Oh,
Scott Shane.
they'll come at the next meeting or the meeting probably the July meeting.
Get on the agenda and then.
I gotta get it on the agenda. I was supposed to do that and it did not get there.
Okay.
All you gotta do is tell us.
Yeah.
It was even my suggestion to have him come in and I said, I'll get it on.
All right, we'll get them on.
I had another phone call, I know that.
Anyone here under the public comment section? Okay, let the record show there were none. The next item is board and staff reports with discussion. Now we'll start back there with you, Mr. Brown. Anything? He's coming, that's good. Coming up.
Troy Brown, Sheriff's Office. Well, considering it's not even quite 7 o'clock yet, I think we got another hour of just BS, and I could come up with all kinds of
Really?
stuff.
You've
if
got
you
all
would want.
sorts of plans.
Let's talk about your budget.
I could come up with a lot of stuff to BS if you want.
I'm sure. you
Otherwise, the Sheriff's Office, we don't have much going on right now. Just
No news, no news is good news, I'm
No
telling you.
good news. Yes. Other than maybe the next meeting, we can hear about Sheriff Overman's trout fishing up at the Snake River in
I
Idaho and
think we
Wyoming.
ought to hear about that.
That's why I'm
I
here.
think so. We need a fishing report.
Yes, we'll need a fish report. So maybe we'll put that on staff reports next time, okay?
Robert's
Great,
good at
thanks.
getting those collected.
All right, thanks. Robert?
Just a few things. Since our last meeting, we did have a regional governance meeting. It was held by the county, this month. It was our turn. It was held here in the commissioner's room. And everything went well there, so, we talked mainly about budget process and the taxation process. So,
Did you feed them?
we did feed them.
Did you?
Yeah, and it wasn't in a brown bag, it was in a plastic container, so.
How do we afford
It
that?
was,
Yeah, I don't wanna get in trouble, do
Yeah, I know.
You know, that's, last thing we need to do is get spanked
yeah.
for that.
So, anyway, so that went off well. I am presenting at the Lions Club meeting on Wednesday this week. And, Ken, I don't know, the gentleman who called me and asked me to attend, he said he'd be calling back. I haven't heard from him, but.
He called me first, if I could tell you who he was.
That's why I'm saying, I don't know if,
If you say a name, I might be able to.
I don't even recall now at this point. I just said yes, put it on my calendar, so,
I thought you could do a
I'm
better
gonna,
job than me.
I'm gonna show up at the meeting, so hopefully they didn't change their mind and want a different speaker.
I-
So,
I know him, but I can't remember
I
who
can't
it was.
think of his name either. I think I've got it written on my desk.
Okay.
So from a budget perspective, from an accounting perspective, The majority of the budgets have been turned in. I'm waiting for some pieces and parts from, some departments, but I would say 90% of the information has been turned in at this point, so I'm entering that into our budgeting system. That's going well. And then, probably over the next week or 10 days, start having meetings with some of the officials. I will see if we can, in some areas where we can talk about that before it comes to the commissioners. I am happy to say that about 2/3 of the departments, that have turned in their budgets came, either under budget or certainly within that 1.3% increase. So, I think that's a really good number, that we had 2/3 just look at their budgets really hard, and they made some significant, cuts in a lot of their operating expenses, so they're be commended. And, so I think all in all, unless the board wants to meet with everybody that comes in under those targets, you should have way fewer meetings, this year, and really just with the ones that have exceeded the stated budget allowance. Ultimately, you guys get to decide if we're gonna change that levy limit, but, or the levied amount. But anyway, good news on that. People have been turning things in. Change hats real quick on the assessor side. We've seen, I think, very pleased with the response on protests so far. The first 2 weeks, we've had 60 protests filed. That was as of the end of day Friday. I think I sent a communication out to the board. Of that, 42 hearings are scheduled, so we've been able to work out the difference there. So we're actively working those. I do think that the last 2 weeks will pick up a little bit. It usually does, but the first signs, so far with 60, that's a good sign, I think.
I've had numerous people ask me that they haven't received anything in the mail. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if there was no change, that nothing was sent out, is that correct?
Yeah, so if there's no change, nothing will be sent out. If
Okay.
it changes by a penny, up or down, a notice would be produced.
But the mail's been slow, Ken, so I don't know.
The
what's
mail has
really,
been slow. I was getting
That's
ready
why
to say.
I said if you haven't got anything by now.
So I've
it may
had
not-
two people in the community that have a number of properties, and they've received some, but not all of them yet. And I know one of them, and one of them's Mark. I hope you don't tell you that he hasn't gotten a significant number of his, and we printed those out because we have a copy in our office that we maintain systematically. So we printed those off, and another taxpayer that reached out to me. So I think, there may be some problems with the postal service. I mean, we've all seen it. We've, clear up until last month, I've been getting pink postcards back from September last year, returned from the mail as address unknown, or no forwarding address. So we're kind of at their mercy, but that's a good point. There may be a lot of them that haven't even shown up yet. But there were 15,218 of them mailed.
And so if we have people say something like that, the best thing we can do is have them look online and see if their valuation changed. And if it is, they can get that basic information there, but they can contact your office.
That's right. If they contact us, we can print out any notices that they have, as long as we know how the properties are titled or if they have their parcel numbers.
Right.
We can do a search and pull them up for them.
And of course, we didn't send out those notices from here. They were contracted with MIPS, and MIPS
And MIPS
used
uses
a
a
mailer provider.
MIPS uses a service in Omaha where they actually congregate all of the change of valuation notices from all the states that MIPS provides services to, and then they get a significant decrease in postage because of the pre-sorting that occurs at this mail facility. So, and it's that way, since I've been here, we've done it that way, sent it through that service, but this year seems to be slower. So, that's it for me.
Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Okay.
Like I told you, with 45, we could do that before we get our lunch.
We could, if we stay focused.
If we just stay focused, we can get it done.
There we go. Jason? Okay. It's kinda your office, anything?
I do not have anything either.
Okay. Go to commissioners, Matt,
I don't have anything.
Ken?
I had, all my meetings, wasn't a whole lot of Kaplan. There are some things going on, but nothing real, nothing real exciting, I guess I should say. Yeah, yeah, exactly. The one question I did ask is with the fact that, not a lot of people are planning things, whether the migrant program is gonna be affected by that. And, she was hoping that it wouldn't, but, yeah, it will be, I'm reasonably sure. Aging office switched again. The, acting supervisor, the acting director. And they're looking at outsourcing the human resources and the accounting that was going on. So it's kind of a mess over there. Main goal of the board was to make sure that our clients are being taken care of. Nothing much with either Region One or the Development, Disability Office. Pretty easy meetings.
Okay. I also attended the regional governance meeting, and, the next one's gonna be hosted by, University of Nebraska, and that, it would be on July 1st. So, just be aware of that, although with that, well, I wanna review a couple things, but, wanna be sure to remind everyone that we have a fifth Monday meeting, June 29th, and I believe that's at 4:30, isn't that right?
Correct.
So, June 29th at 4:30, that's in 2 weeks. So be sure everybody remembers that, but it is an extra meeting that we normally don't have, and so be sure that it's on your calendar. The other thing I wanted to review quickly is the dates for protests, and one of those is July 1st, and, we may need to tell them that we may not be able to be there, depending on whether you schedule that day
Yeah, we
or not.
haven't, the clerk's office hasn't scheduled anything that week, and we don't anticipate that either, do we?
Agreed.
Robert, if I might ask, as soon, or kinda, as soon as you get some dates in mind, can we get them?
We got them. I'm gonna give them to you right now if you, because we discussed them 2 weeks ago.
What, but they were just, I don't know if they were finalized or whether we just talked about it.
Well, these are not finalized because we don't know how many we're gonna have.
Okay,
So, but the days that we were supposed to set aside, anticipating that they could be used, was June 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And then June 30th, and July 1st and 2nd.
hang on. July 1st and 2nd, okay.
Right. The 30th and the 1st and 2nd are in a week right there. And then the next full week, which is July 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then the next full week, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17?
Yep. And then the next full week, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Again, the hope is we don't need to use even half of those days, is the goal. But the other one was that July 1st and 2nd was going to be, designated our primary days for commercial, if I remember correctly.
And correct me if I'm wrong, kind of that got moved.
Yeah, we do not intend on using July 1st and 2nd
At all?
at all for anything. The commercial days set aside are the 22nd, July 22nd and 23rd and 24th if necessary.
So we're adding the 22nd to June then, is that correct?
July.
Okay, I thought
These are
that,
Yeah, the
July's and
commercial will
stuff.
be clear at the end.
okay.
The 24th was kind of left out there as that is the final day that we have to hear protests and make any decisions on them. But we are primarily trying to fill up with commercial the 22nd and 23rd.
Okay,
So.
And Mark,
so
one
One more time on the July ones was 20th, 21st, 22nd, right?
20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, that whole week.
Okay.
So you kinda start here and go, and work
Gotcha,
it
thank
backwards
you.
up the hill, and so you
Yeah.
build it backwards.
So, Mark, you did miss 2 dates in June, cause I know we've already got some, scheduled for June 26th and 7th. So that whole week is, starting the 23rd, and isn't that right, kinda?
Well, 27th is a Saturday,
Okay,
I think so.
26th, just the 26th then,
just the
yeah.
26th.
Yeah. We do have some set on the 26th.
Okay.
All right, I'll write that down. Yeah, I don't think we had that from last time, but that's okay.
I don't think so either.
We're taking
You
2
know,
off
I'm
in
gonna be
July,
gone on the
so.
10th.
That's right, we weren't gonna do one on the 10th, cause Matt wasn't gonna be here, correct?
It was, they have it as a low priority.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
That's
our
on the
intention
10th.
is to not
That's fine.
use that
Yeah.
6th through the 10th of July unless absolutely necessary.
We have several dates in there that are low priority.
Yeah,
We don't wanna use them if we don't have to.
yeah.
All right. So the change from what I said was we're adding the 26th of June, and then we took off July 1 and 2 off of the list. Okay?
Okay.
Didn't we have some on June 29th too?
No, cause we have to be done by the 24th, I think.
June.
June.
Oh, of
You
June?
said June 30th.
I know,
Could
it's
be.
hard. We
I don't have
keep
my
going back and
calendar.
forth with the June
Well,
and
June
July.
29th is our
Our
special
meeting.
meeting, 4:30
Right.
meeting.
So, I
Yeah.
did not have that one wrote down.
You got,
We could do that as long as we were done by 3 o'clock or so.
Yeah, it was.
July.
That's June.
There
she's
might be
talking
some.
about.
July
That
6th
ain't
is
in
a
my
regular meeting day,
calendar.
Mark. Or
I
you
think there's
remember
only
that?
one person
Right.
scheduled that day.
And same story,
we
that
could
we could do
possibly
some
move
up
them.
until about 3 o'clock, but then we'd have to stop for our meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, at this rate, we're not gonna use.
Yeah, we shouldn't need nearly this amount of days.
Unless something drastically
Right.
changes.
Keep it
But
at
these-
that 40, we're gonna be
I
fine.
would love that.
These were
Yeah.
the dates that we
I don't
said,
think that'll be the case. But
we'll try
it's a
and,
good start.
we'll try and hold on to these dates for now till you know. And again, you're only 2 weeks away, and then two weeks and a
Not-
couple days.
Not that I'm counting, but we've got 10 more business days after today. So.
Yeah, so then they have that long to protest.
Yeah, I've got some medical appointments that I need to make,
Right.
and they wanna go out 2 weeks with everything.
Yeah.
So I can't, it's hard, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, those are the days that we're trying to hold on to,
okay.
and then,
I'll
but
visit
we're
with
thinking
them
we're not gonna
and
use them
take
all.
care of.
I think the intent is to try to fill up that week of June 23rd first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then not really have a whole lot more till July 13th. And try to do the regular ones like residential, ag that week, and then focus on commercial.
So you're
mostly
saying from the
that
23rd to the 30th fill up and then start again on the 13th of July?
Yeah,
that what you're thinking?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
But I think we all agree we are going to try to keep that first week of July clear, so there's that too.
Okay.
And certainly, by the 29th, you'll have a pretty good feeling where you might be at.
Right, yeah, I'll continue to send out updates, and if we start getting higher volumes, I'll send them more frequently. I've sent them
All right.
at the end of the first 2 weeks, but.
Mr. Mike, I think we're up to you.
Okay, I had a housing meeting last week again, and then yesterday, Matt Myers.
I was gonna ask you a question about that. Is the director, is she still there? Or?
She'll be leaving shortly,
Okay, I was wondering if she
Yeah.
was gonna be moved.
but she has volunteered to be available to help out the new director.
Do you, have you guys, put in for a new director at all yet, or?
They did interviews yesterday.
Okay, okay.
So that's how.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's gonna be an in-house person.
Oh, okay.
Then Matt Myers and I were invited to participate in the flag ceremony at Betzelum yesterday afternoon. or yesterday afternoon, yeah, it went very well, well attended. We actually got compliments on our flag folding, which we hadn't done for a long time. Then I did, participated in a triage training last week, and then a grid search for ground evidence type search, so that's about it.
Russ?
I really don't have anything, just been
The only other issue is, the next item is legislation. I did not mention that this time. Does anyone have anything on legislation that we need to talk about?
Did you get anything from NACO at all on that? Matt?
Senator Story talked about LB 663 on livestock use. That's the, it's not a, it's not a bill that's in the legislature. I think it's actually been passed.
Oh,
Yeah, that's for the brand committee,
Right.
for branding, yeah.
Yeah. There was one other one. LB 1010, I think. And again, that dealt with comm centers, but I don't, or data centers,
Data centers.
yeah. We're seeing a big increase in these data centers popping up and wanting to be created in different counties. And the data centers really vary based on the amount of water use and what type of water they use, whether they're drawing from the municipal water source or if it's groundwater, and the cooling system that's used to keep it cool. But that is, I think that's LB 1010. I need to look at it. I'm not seeing it here.
I know they've also been concerned about their electric usage.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that most of them are being required to produce their own electricity, is what I hear.
Right. So it's the water usage and the electrical, and it really makes a big difference in them. There's the hyperscalers, I think are the biggest, and they're the ones that use the most water, so. That's it.
Mark,
The
one
only-
other thing on legislation, I'm not sure if I've already mentioned it, but there was a bill passed this year that's gonna change the joint public hearing next year. So that will be, have I already mentioned that? But it's gonna come out sooner, basically, it's gonna come out sooner, the state's gonna send out the joint public hearing notice rather than the county. So more to come. We have the basic legislation, we don't have anything official from PAD about process and procedure, but more to come on that as it gets closer.
And along your lines, actually, too, of things that have already passed that maybe I should mention, our marriage license fees were passed to go ahead and increase. So as of July 18th, the marriage license fee will increase from $25 to $50. Certified copy will increase from $9 to $16. And this comes after a big battle from the counties because the state has always charged more for these things. The counties were not allowed to. And they've been stagnant for several years. So July 18th will be when we see that.
Okay.
And on the brand bill, the biggest change was a reduction in brand inspection fees for feedlots. That was the only major change. And on the data centers, that's really a hot button issue across the nation. There's a lot of states that are putting moratoriums on them or banning them altogether. One of the big concerns is whether they are allowed to build their own electrical system or whether they'll participate in public power. The people that want them to use public power is so they can get some of that tax revenue sharing the cost. Other people view it as a drain, so they want to build their own sources of power. Then there's a lot of environmental impact issues that are still need to be resolved. And then there's always the argument of ag land being taken up by these large data centers and the lack of jobs created by these data centers. So it's gonna be real interesting to follow to see what happens.
The, most of you know that I have some interest in the panhandle of Texas, and that town is, they have 3 data center buildings, 1 data center, but 3 buildings. Each building is 758,000 square feet.
Oh my.
3 buildings right beside each other, so they're big. And they did say that it's bringing lots of people to town for the construction, but when it's over, then the actual employment numbers are fairly minimized.
Right.
And there's, not a whole lot of people in those buildings to supervise those computers, really. And, but anyway, there's lots of, I don't think we've had any talk or significant interest in our own area on data centers that I know of anyway. But they are a thing that's happening, and so we should be aware of that. So, one other thing just before we leave, be sure and check your NACO email that you got over the weekend, because there is a seminar on manure. And just in case somebody wants to go to it, I wanna be sure and mention it to you. So,
There's a what?
seminar on manure issues.
That's right up
And
my
I think
alley.
they're partnering with NACO to, and I can imagine that it is an issue in some areas, and I know, so
They're trying-
anyway, be sure and read it.
Isn't it have to do with biofuels?
No, it didn't say it that way.
Oh,
It said manure, so,
but I mean, aren't they wanting to convert that to biofuel?
that's part of it, yeah. Okay, meeting's adjourned. Yeah, she'll fix you supper.
Pork chops and gravy sound pretty good.
Where does she live?